Today, we're going to be talking about why kettlebell skill work can help you to improve your shoulder and upper back mobility and maybe get rid of some of those cranky shoulders. I used to think kettlebell skill work like Turkish get-ups was dumb until somebody changed my mind, and I want to show you exactly why I made that change. We work with a lot of baseball players and other overhead throwing athletes, so we're always seeking out ways to help our athletes get into more safe and healthy positions in that overhead position. And one thing we know about getting overhead or overhead athletes is that the better shoulder blade range of motion we have, the better we can keep that position of the actual shoulder joint and keep that shoulder joint healthy. And one thing that I think is underlooked or underappreciated when it comes to shoulder health and trying to get more range of motion out of that shoulder blade or the scapula is when we look at actually what the scapula does, the only osseous or bony connection it has to the axial skeleton is right here at the collarbone. Other than that, it just sits and floats on the rib cage and on the upper back. So if we're trying to get better scapular movement, but we have crappy T-spine rotation or extension, we might be kind of looking at the wrong thing here for our solutions. So one, we want to make sure that we're attacking T-spine movement before or while we're attacking that scapular movement. So one move that we use that kind of incorporates all of this is our kettlebell skill work. So here we're talking about kettlebell Turkish get-ups or windmills, and here first we're going to show our half kneeling kettlebell windmill. So here we're going to drop down into a half kneeling position. That front knee, we're going to step it 90 degrees out to the side, reach up through that kettlebell, eyes on the kettlebell, and then to get into that windmill position, we want to sit our hips back onto our heel, hand comes straight out in front, following the line of our shin, and we're going to show that logo to the knee. Eyes, again, always up on that kettlebell. We really want to be reaching through that kettlebell, and as we get to the bottom, we want to be stacked all the way from hand, through our shoulders, down through the other hand. So why this is a great tool for improving shoulder blade range of motion is remember that that shoulder blade is just sitting right on top of the rib cage, reacting to whatever the T-spine does and to where the arm wants to go. Plus, it has to react to the force of that kettlebell, stabilize that position. So in the past, what we've used to try to get better, it's called scapular upward rotation, is stuff like Y raises or maybe some serratus slides. And these are great tools and we still utilize them to this day, but we think that this is a little bit more applicable to something as dynamic as overhead throwing. So it's gonna really allow better adaptations and more carryover to the sport. So when we're doing stuff like, a kettlebell Turkish get-up or a windmill, you wanna keep the volume fairly low. So with a Turkish get-up, I rarely program anything over 3 reps per side. With a windmill, rarely anything over 6 and maybe 2 to 3 rounds. So when we first started utilizing this, we were definitely using it more with our athletes, but we've also found great carryover for just our adult populations, especially people that are sitting at desks all day. It forces them to get into extension and rotation, and it forces that scapula to react to whatever the T-spine is doing and whatever the arm wants to do, which is exactly what we should be doing with our arm care. So some common errors we see with the half kneeling kettlebell windmill. One, we just want to make sure the starting position is really, really solid. So here in that half kneeling position, make sure we're stepping it out 90 degrees to the side, reaching up through that kettlebell. Biggest thing, eyes not on the kettlebell. We want to make sure that we're always looking at this kettlebell just for health and for safety. Again, from there, a big mistake we see is people kind of leaning back and their hand comes back behind them. We want to make sure that that hand stays in line with the shin and comes out in front of the body, right? At the same time, those heels or the hips go back towards the heel, almost like a hip hinge movement, but with a little bit of rotation. We want to make sure that those shoulders are completely stacked. So if you're not turning your chest into that knee, it's going to be really tough to stay underneath that kettlebell. So you'll see that where people are kind of showing their logo forward still. So make sure, show my logo to that knee so that I can stay underneath the kettlebell and rotate to get into that really quality, solid position where we're stacked all the way through the shoulders. Take this nice and easy. You don't need to rush through this movement at all. Remember, keep the reps low and the technique high, and you'll do really well with this movement. We hope that kettlebell skill work helps you with your shoulder health and stability.
Thanks for watching this episode of Mind Pump TV. If you have any questions, shoot us a comment or a DM, and we'll catch you next time.